All right, let's go ahead and look at our swing trade setups for the 21st going through the 24th. Obviously, these can be longer or shorter, just depending on what your overall target is for your individual trade. Um, Couple things here. So let's go ahead without me going too much in depth over the trades that I currently have on. I have posted those. I also have BMY and I had the PFE. Those are really small, so I'm not putting a lot of emphasis on them. I will cover them in the morning. And I went ahead and put some details here on Twitter since we just started it. I wasn't sure if I sent out anything when I took the trade, so I wanted to make sure we were all pretty much on the same page of what I'm looking at. And you can see here on Twitter, we're still in the EMA cloud. Typically, I like to trade this outside of the cloud. As you can see, when we break out, we typically move nicely here. But when you're in, it's just kind of hard to tell what's going to happen. Our probabilities are less that we're actually going to get out of it. And so this is why we start swings, right? Start swings. And remember, your allocation should be smaller to allow you to feel a little less pressure and allow the stock to kind of move around and do its thing. Now, saying that, when I'm looking at Twitter and AMD, I bought next week. I knew we had a holiday, and I'd like to see these continue up, obviously, because I'm long on them, but I'm not too concerned, right? I'm not big into these positions. And what am I going to do? Well, if we could get over the neutral here in Twitter, and that is above the 34.61, I could look to add into size, bring your stops up to the neutral, and look for targets 35.83, possibly 37.59. Who knows, right? Now, if it starts to break down on the neutral, definitely not interested, as it just looks like it could go sideways into or in the EMA cloud. Now, there were a lot of sweeps coming in. That is not the reason for the trade. The reason for the trade is the higher lows and higher highs, and it looks to be hooking. So this is a weekly trade. Okay. This is what we're looking at on the monthly. I mean, this looks really nice to me. I like the way this looks. And when I look at the bigger picture, we have supply up here. Sure, big sell off, but we're making our way up there and almost getting ready to break out of the cloud on the monthly. This could be a huge move. If it doesn't happen this week, it sure the heck looks like it's ready to happen soon. But then again, we do have earnings on the 6th of February. Just be aware. Let's go ahead and go over here to AMD. This one's classic. It hit the 2000 levels, broke out from there. But what's important is I want to know, did we retest that, right? When we broke out, did price come back and retest? It did. It made a higher high off of that. We had a rally base, higher high on the weekly for AMD. Would like to see this continue up if it can get over the 5108 level, looking for 5163, and from there should get us some nice momentum into 5314. Now, with some of these names, when you're coming into earnings season, I do like to, look out and forecast and see if there's anything in the same sector that may be, maybe they're reporting. So, and if they are reporting, that always kind of puts me on a caution, right? Let's say Nvidia is reporting next week. I don't think they are, but if they were, I'd be cautious holding AMD. I probably wouldn't even want to hold because you just don't know what's going to happen. And these will be affected. All right. So that's what I see here on AMD. Again, underneath the 5026, price could drop down and continue to move back down to the year 2000 4850 level. The options that I have on, just kind of like Twitter as well, smaller right now. The delta was 33, so basically what you're saying is $33 of loss for every dollar pullback. What we like here is that we have a pretty tight stop, so you're not going to lose that full, $30 per contract if we do get stopped out. So again, smaller until we see some confirmation going into this week. And that way, if we are stopped out, small losses versus the bigger wins. Okay. So that's AMD. Let's go ahead and go down to the next here. We had HD. Remember, if you're new here, and let's just say that you didn't take the original trade, right? So the original trade was when we broke over this high here, and our target was here at the YE. What a beautiful trade, right? So we made our profits. What you should be looking at, and what I do, is I take a small percentage of that gain, and just to keep my hands on that trade, or just say that I have a little bit of skin in it, I went ahead and rolled. And this was doing quite well for a little bit, and then it pulled back before the close. But what we want to see on HD is if we can get over the weekly high, just like any other trade, we're looking for that 233.03 and then possibly up here to 236. We bought the 235. If it shows that it can't stay above this YE, especially on Tuesday, it's probably not worth holding. You'd probably lose about 40 to 50% in that roll up. But again, it's a roll off of profits. It should not, you need to be looking at the bigger picture. If you made $1,000 in HD and you put $100 in a roller, it's not going to hurt you. Look at it as one trade. Okay. So that's what I'm looking for on HD here. Let's go ahead and move on. I do like CAT. Okay. ER is at the end of the month, so it's pretty soon. And what I'm seeing here just on the scanner, a little bit of consolidation. You can see that what I'm looking for are things that are at the edges, because we can see the explosiveness we get out of them once we get that formation or those higher highs off the edges. What I'd be looking for is a move back up into this wick here around 150.42. And if we can hold that 152.09, if it cannot get over that, it's just not a trade. It's as simple as that. You just don't do anything, right? Now, if you're like, well, but I want to trade cat, right? So, I mean, you could trade it to the downside for some reason. If it doesn't work and it starts breaking down, you'd be looking at it. But the problem is, in earnings season we tend to, we get chopped and pulls back a little, and people get out of positions, and then we rip. So I wouldn't want to be short cat unless it starts showing that it makes lower lows, and that could take a while. So I just don't have the patience to be looking for that, and we're in a bullish market. So I'm going to stick with the trend until we're proven otherwise. Okay, so I like the trade better above the ME. And matter of fact, I'm pretty sure it's above the ME. Yep, when you zoom in here. So we want to look for this to be support. And if it's support, ride it up into these wicks. 150.42, 152.09, and the 148 by 150 expiration 24 January, 150, 152 and a half by 31 January. Okay, just depending on how much time you like to have. Again, confirmation on this trade would obviously be higher highs on a daily chart. This is a weekly, okay? But I'm just looking at the overall bigger picture of the weekly. Don't forget about ER, the 31st of January. Moving on down here into Disney. This one, like I said, I'm not sure if Netflix is going to have an effect on it, and it might. And that's just like the common way to think. I didn't make this stuff up. Other stocks do affect other ones, but it could be that Netflix misses, and the reason why is because Disney's capturing, their market. I don't know this. I have no idea. So what we have is a methodology. Look, it's at the edge. It's sitting right at the 9 EMA. What I'm saying on this trade is that it needs to get over the previous base. There's a couple things going on here. Your 9 EMA and above the base, okay, right here, would put you back above the 9. It starts to look a little bit better, probably flushes, but we want to keep this right here, okay, as a stop and ride this up. So only when this closes outside of here or on the intraday, take the trade over this base, right, out of the neutral, then we're looking for these moves into the targets here, 146.93, and possibly back to the YE at 148. Underneath, just like everything else, I'm saying we're in a bullish market. This has pulled back quite a bit from this, and it's flagging as well. So we just want to, I want to stay with the trend. It doesn't look horrible. I'm not scared of it. ER is on the 4th. It looks like we could get a little run into the ER. But again, what avoids this trade? Obviously, if it starts breaking, it's in the neutral, you don't do anything, right? If it starts breaking down underneath the neutral, you still don't do anything. I'm riding the trend, looking for can this thing get back up and start hooking around so that we get something like this, higher high, boom. Okay, and then it kind of stalls into ER and it either goes to all-time highs or back down into demand. Okay, so that is Disney. Let's go over to ATVI. The reason I put this one on here is because, it took a little while to develop, but once it started to develop, the blueprint worked very well from last week and has moved very nicely from there. We had an inside week here, right? Topping wick, looked a little bearish, but once it took over, kind of like Disney and everything else I'm showing you, it held that ME and then it pushed up and it did make a higher high on the weekly. So for continuation, look for it to hold above 61.30 and then look for higher highs on a daily chart to continue your trend into 63.53. Okay, this is not an all-time high. Matter of fact, you have some supply here. Okay, right in there around T2, 68.87. Now notice price is moving from demand to supply. The road there is unknown. We don't know how long that will take. Timing is always the variable. But notice price did come into the imbalance of demand and is moving its way into supply. Let's go into our next one here at CMG. This one I was actually watching for quite some time. I posted this on Twitter a couple weeks ago, and what I was looking at the time, let's go ahead and go over there, I just want to show you, was, a break of this TL here. And it's just something simple, because what I noticed is that it came into the 9 EMA here, and it started to round above the WE, which is the weekly edge, started to move above this, making higher highs. Once it broke that TL, it flushed back into that break. I always like that check back. And now, boom, nice. Okay, let's go to the weekly. Here we are, rally base and a higher high. Look for it to pop, maybe recheck out of the neutral. 887, the market likes round numbers. We're looking for 900 to 910 on this stock if it can hold above the neutral. Again, weekly ATR is very important as well. $35. We're talking, we can definitely see that if the market continues to trend. Make sure, again, it's earnings season. Make sure there's nothing out there that could affect this. Also, earnings on here is for February. Let's go over here into FDX. We had a great trade on this not too long ago. I think it's ready. Like I didn't even change the blueprint, matter of fact. But towards the end of the week, it just kind of crept and kept going here, and now it's above the accelerator, but it's still in the EMA cloud. So again, this is one of those trades. If it breaks the 159.94, let's just call it 160. If it breaks the 160 area, looking for it to come back up and challenge this wick. Okay, and ride this as long as it's going to make higher highs on the intraday and the daily. But notice there's confluence at the ME again with this EMA that's coming down. 55's above it. It probably stalls out. These probably go white in this region, go sideways for another week, but still you have a trade up to here and then maybe 2 to 3 weeks out, into this 172, 178. But don't forget earnings March 17th, so we have some time to actually make this move into this region, even up to here to 190 before earnings. Okay, that's the bigger picture, right? Let's just see. Let's go to the pivot high. We went over this not too long ago. Pivot low. Notice there's confluence here with some of my targets. We are still in the bearish channel. And this yearly is actually the 38.2. Love the confluence. And so we're still in that bearish channel, right? This thing is neutral above here, not bullish until we start getting up above the 618 at 222. But this could be a huge win here on FTX. I'm not looking at fundamentals, just technicals. Again, March 17th, 2020. Let's look at Google really quick. And on that FTX, sorry, before I move on, FTX 162.5, 165 call. These are pretty inexpensive. 24 January, 165 call, 31 Jan. Let's look at Google. This is a momentum name. It just keeps going higher. It's one of those where, it's going to be a little bit wider on the spread. And you'll see that here, meaning my neutral zone's kind of wide. 1480 by 1467, right? Pretty wide. But if it can hold above the 80 level, look for that round number, 492 to 1508. I say call debit spread. If you don't know what it is, then you don't need to know. Or go out on YouTube and type in call debit spreads. Basically what you're doing is you're buying and selling one. All right, you're buying one and selling one, and you're capped on how much you can make. Is all. So what you do is avoid paying the extreme premium of just a regular directional call. Okay, you can still lose money, but you're not paying as much for the move, but you're also capping your overall profits. Okay. All right. So coming down here into Square, let's go ahead and take a look at that. You can see here, I wanted to paint you a picture really quick and just kind of show you guys. This is some supply up here and this is some demand. Notice that price moved from demand and looks like it's moving into supply. Also notice you want to look up and left. You can see we had a double top right here, just short term, but it's holding the ME. So I made a neutral from 69.73 to 67.47. If we can pop above this and hold, look for that next move into a fib level of 72 and then 76. Overall supply sitting up here around the YE at 79.70. Now, what's interesting about this is I always tell, right? This is just, I mean, if you were to go back from time and go to the pivot high and to the pivot low, look at where we are. We're just starting to break that 38.2. You know what that means. Let's go ahead and take that off there. Good luck, Square 70.5 to 71.5, call 31 January. Also could do weeklies if we get some momentum going here in this name. All right, I'm looking forward to this coming week. Understand that it is a short week. One thing I would like to approach, instead of coming up with all these different intraday trades, unless we have some kind of catalyst, is I really focus on the swings, but use them on the focus trades. Okay, so just expect that coming into this short week. That's what I'm kind of looking for. Um, Sorry, see, I see things and I'm like, hey, something could be brewing up here. Nice ascending triangle there. Big breakout if this happens, okay? Um, Look forward to seeing you. We'll see you soon. Have a good day.